Donald Trump is not handling it well. His name appears 38,000 times in the partial release of the Epstein files from last Friday in over 5,000 documents. And we know there's at least 3 million documents still being withheld, which could probably equate to 25 to 50 million pages if you factor in each document could be 20, 30, 40 pages or more. So Donald Trump just been ranting and raving like a lunatic. We saw him earlier in the day saying, I'm totally vindicated. Everything's amazing. Then he sends Todd Blanche, his deputy attorney general, to make his rounds on state regime media, which calls itself Fox. And Todd Blanche is like, look, just because you party with Jeffrey Epstein doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. What's wrong with partying with Jeffrey Epstein? That's what they're going with right now in the Trump regime. Look, this is Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney who's basically still functioning in that role, who's the number 2 at the Department of Justice, is on state regime media saying, so what if you partied with Epstein? Everybody partied with him. That's what they're going with. Here, play this clip.
Well, some of the people we saw on camera at the rallies. Is there any chance that any of these individuals who partied with Epstein and engaged in relations with minors will be prosecuted?
Well,
Any
look,
chance?
I'll never say no. And we will always investigate any evidence of misconduct. But as you know, it is not a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. And so as horrible as it's not a crime to email with Mr. Epstein. And some of these men may have done horrible things. And if we have evidence that allows us to prosecute them, you better believe we will. But it's also the kind of thing that the American people need to understand, that it isn't a crime to party with Mr. Epstein. It isn't a crime to have
Didn't look like that's all that was going on some of those photos. I mean, if the photos could speak, some of them look pretty bad.
That's right. And unfortunately, photos can't speak. And so we need witnesses and we need
evidence. Are there videotapes that you all have? Or?
Okay, wow. Then Donald Trump is out there posting things like this. The highest poll numbers I have ever received. Obviously, people like a strong and powerful country with the best economy ever. Okay, people are suffering right now. Let's be very clear. And your polling is like the worst. I mean, the Pew Research poll has Donald Trump's approval at basically the worst ever. He's at 37% with 61% disapproving. You take a look right here at the generic ballot trend among independent voters by Harvard Harris that just came out, plus 28 in favor of Democrats right there. Go through that Pew Research poll. Literally every single demographic, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, male, female, you name it. Donald Trump is underwater with that demographic. He is plus 48 with Republicans still, but other than that, he's negative. I mean, look, when it comes to Hispanic voters, he's negative 45. When it comes to black voters, he's negative 40. Black voters, negative 71. Asian voters, negative 48. And by the way, you have the former Republican governor candidate Meiselas in Minnesota, who just withdrew from the race because he's like, I can't support this Republican Party anymore. This is the former Republican lead gubernatorial candidate in Minneapolis on CNN last night. Here's what he had to say. Let's play this clip.
Are you worried for Republicans?
Oh, immeasurably, yes. I mean, it is inconceivable to me how you can turn immigration into a Democrat issue literally in a couple months. In my home state of Minnesota, where fraud was the number one issue to get out the governor, they front-end loaded fraud, made the governor resign, came on the tail end of that with immigration, and turned it into a Democrat issue. It's almost as if the Republicans from D.C. were doing this by design in order to help the Democrats in my state.
I mean, and Donald Trump thinks he can distract us with posts like this. Hey, Donald, you're boring. You rant and rave like a lunatic. Your shtick is getting old. Americans want normalcy. Here's what Donald Trump posted last night, 11:30 p.m. his time. Strongly anti-Semitic Harvard University has been feeding a lot of nonsense to the failing New York Times. Harvard's been for a long time behaving very badly. They wanted to do a convoluted job training concept. It was merely a way of Harvard to get out of a large cash settlement of more than $500 million. Then Donald Trump says, now I'm seeking $1 billion, $1 billion in damages from Harvard. All right, dude, just chill. You're weird. You're a wannabe fascist. You're a Putin bootlicker. You were close friends with Epstein. You're in the files 38,000 times. You're not vindicated. You could attack former President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton all you want, but it's just shedding light on you. By the way, former President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, they've agreed to testify before the House Oversight Committee because they want to attack them thinking they weren't going to show up. So I say this. If Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are testifying about Epstein, well, then I think, Donald, you have a lot of explaining to do. You should have to sit for 7 hours and testify about Epstein and your deep connections to Epstein under oath. Oh, wait a minute. You're scared and pathetic, aren't you, Donald? We've seen how you do on your depositions before. The worst ever. By the way, when Todd Blanche was on state regime media, which calls itself Fox as well, Laura Ingraham was asking him about the dozens and dozens of survivors whose names were unlawfully put out in the files. The one job the DOJ had, redact the name of survivors. Otherwise, release the files, redact the faces of survivors, redact their names and other personal identifying information, and the DOJ failed at that. We at the MeidasTouch Network identified, and we had to reach out to the DOJ right away because we saw that there was a whole file with photos of underage girls that the DOJ released. So I don't want to reach out to the DOJ on anything, but I felt we had an obligation as a network to tell them immediately, take that down. You have photos. What are you doing, you idiots? And then they put out all the identifying information of the survivors who are traumatized, and they rush to court because they're suffering PTSD as a result of this regime. But Todd Blanche says, yeah, mistakes were made. You know, when you have to rush something in 60 days, these are the things that happen. No, Todd, they don't. And it wasn't 60 days. You've had thousands of lawyers working on this by your own admissions since last February. This has been a year. And this is what you do. You hide 3 million documents and then you release the names of the survivors? Horrible, horrible. Play this clip.
Epstein files. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that names of dozens of victims were left unredacted. These are reportedly women who were minors at the time or haven't come out publicly yet. I know there was an attempt to rigorously go through these documents, redact what was needed to be redacted. How did those names slip through?
Yeah, look, you're right. I mean, there mistakes were made by, you have really hardworking lawyers that worked for the past 60 days. Think about this, though. You're talking about pieces of paper that stack from the ground to 2 Eiffel Towers. And so the minute that a victim or their lawyer reached out to us since Friday, we immediately dealt with it and pulled it down, and we're continuing to do that. We knew that there would be mistakes. We put that, I said that to the American people on Friday. Everything we did was protect victims, and that's the case today, just like it was on Friday. And what we're talking about, by the way, is 0.002% of
But it matters
materials.
to them, right? I mean,
it should matter to them.
Yeah.
It matters
So,
to me, too.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then Donald Trump's posting, not only I wasn't friendly with Epstein, but based upon the information just released, Epstein and sleazebag lying author Michael Wolff conspired in order to damage my presidency. You were best friends with him. That's just the objective fact. He didn't have to go to the Mar-a-Lago spa. The Mar-a-Lago spa went to him. Mar-a-Lago was ground zero where for some of the sex trafficking was taking place of underage girls. And I can say that without fear of, oh, Ben, why? Because it's true. Virginia Giuffre, underage girl, worked at Mar-a-Lago, sex trafficked by Epstein. And we know that girls from Mar-a-Lago were going to Epstein's place in Palm Beach. The references to Donald Trump in the files are grotesque and despicable stuff. Then you had Dr. Oz making his rounds yesterday. Here's what Dr. Oz had to say. Dr. Oz is like, Has he moved on from defaming the Armenian community in Los Angeles, or is he going to go back and doing that after we debunked him and sent our reporters into Van Nuys and interviewed the hardworking Armenians there who talked about the heinous conduct of Oz? But here's what Oz was saying yesterday. All we need to do, just get the average American to work earlier and work later. And if we could just get you to work more, if we could just make you more of a machine for the corporations, then we could generate so much more wealth. What are you doing not working? Watch Dr. Oz here play this clip.
If we could get the average American, because they feel healthy, they're vital, they're strong, they have agency over their future, to start working a year earlier, right out of high school, or work a year later, not retire, or work better during their lifetime because they're healthy, it would generate about $3 trillion. $3 trillion to the U.S. economy. That would more than remove the debt. It would provide us unbelievable strength because the taxes on that $3 trillion would allow us to keep Medicare Part A solvent, to make a trust fund. It would allow us to make Social Security healthier, tremendous downstream benefits. But to do that, you actually have to invest in making sure people want to work the extra year.
I've got an idea, Dr. Oz. Why don't, instead of that, we pay workers with dignity? What about the fact that our workers have to oftentimes work multiple jobs and can't afford a home? They struggle to pay rent. They're psychologically tortured, living paycheck to paycheck, and they are terrified that AI is going to replace them. So I showed you what Oz said there. Now, here's what Dr. Oz says about rural healthcare. AI is better than rural physicians, rural nurses, rural medical staff. AI should replace it. You'll be so much better off in rural America getting healthcare from AI bots. That's what they're saying here. Play this clip.
But I'm telling you right now, there's no question about it, whether you want it or not. The best way to help some of these communities is going to be AI-based avatars. Agentic AI taking the ability to do the intake, just catch the patient, customize to what their needs are, understand what they're up to. If you go, and please go play with these tools, they're unbelievable. They'll pick up subtle little nuances in how you're saying things. If you do it on purpose, it's actually sort of cool to find out.
Finally, I'll leave you with right-wing podcaster Andrew Schulz admitting that what he says, the far left was correct about Trump all along. Or maybe it really wasn't the far left. Maybe y'all used all of these labels, and maybe the reality is that your base are right-wing extremist fascists who created boogeymen and boogeywomen and boogie people in order to prop up this Kim Jong-un orange blob in Donald Trump who has caused such harm. Let's play this clip.
But I will say that this was a breaking point for me in the way that the administration responded to it. Like, I didn't think what's happening right now with ICE could happen in America. I genuinely did not think that was possible. I thought our institution, I thought the Constitution would hold up. When I see it and then immediately defend it, I start to go, we gotta be very loud about this. Like, it all of a sudden becomes not like liberal catastrophic thinking. It starts to become very reasonable, nuanced criticism of the administration. They have just made the most far left critiques of the Trump administration. Their reaction to this has just justified all of them. In one moment, all of their responses from Trump to Kash Patel, they have justified every single and I know people will probably look at this and be like, they've done a million other things to justify them. Sure, and that's fair. But this specific situation, I think, is a breaking point, and it has justified all those criticisms. I think people's antennas are way up, and people's antennas up that were not up initially.
This is like seeing the Epstein files. Because it's like,
wouldn't it be nice if we got those?
It's like, damn, y'all really been lying to us. Like, damn, like you really been lying to us. Let me ask you a question.
Yep. There you have it. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.